Hi, my name is Britteny Floyd Mayo, and this is how I became a yoga guru and an unfuckwittable confidence coach. I discovered yoga when I was in college. What had happened was, I'm from Oakland and we fight. That doesn't really work when you get to college. So I went to college in New Orleans and a girl said something I didn't like and punched her in the face. And in order for me to not get kicked out of the university, they said, you have to go to anger management. And one of the forms of anger management was yoga. The first yoga class, I was like, this is lame. But then about the sixth class, something happened. I was laying in Savasana, where you're laying on the mat at the end of class, and just all of these emotions came up, and I feel like just kind of rolled off of my body. And I had this beautiful aha moment, and I fell in love with the practice. I changed my major, and I want to say it took over my life, but I met a boy, had kids, and kind of set the practice down for a few years. I realized after a 9-year marriage, I didn't know who the I was or what I wanted out of my life. So I asked myself a very simple question. When was the last time you felt like you? And that so happened to be when I went to a yoga class. So I'm coming back to the streets fashion, I had to do it big. I booked my first trip out of the country to Rishikesh, India, where I studied yoga at ashram and became a certified yoga instructor. It was never my intention to actually teach a yoga class. It was just the safest and the cheapest way to travel to India. About 2 years later, I had a friend who had started a dance studio in San Francisco, California, and she was asking me, hey, I need to fill this roster. Would you come and teach yoga? Well, I loved yoga and I loved trap music. So I said, only if you give me creative freedom. She said, you can do whatever the you want. So I came up with trap yoga. It was really thinking of what would Hood Rats or a Saturday Night Live skit for ratchet music and yoga be like, and I curated that. I had no idea that it was going to take off and amass so much attention so fast. When I first discovered that trap music and yoga really had this beautiful symbiotic relationship, it was really serendipitous. I was at home cleaning up, and you know how you start something and you're just really excited, you want to go to the gym all the time and you're always doing yoga. And I was listening to trap music, and then I just was like, I want to get on my mat. I set the broom down, I got on my mat and realized that I could twerk in downward facing dog and it feels good. And so it really was how I practiced for myself, with myself. But as I thought about it more, I always love things that are super dichotomous. I love, the heavy bass. I love how loud the music is. I love that it is talking about things that we think about, things that we experience, and it becomes this kind of cathartic thing. Another thing that I think that makes trap music so great for yoga is for people of color. Because the first thing people say is, I don't want to go somewhere where it's quiet, that's boring. But what that really translates to is, I don't feel safe alone with my thoughts. There's that scary part of meditation. People don't want to know what they think about themselves. So that's why we are constantly surrounding ourselves with other people and music and sounds and keeping ourselves busy. We hide from ourselves. Now, if you take something like the trap music and it's familiar and you blend it with something that is not familiar, the yoga, people are more open and receptive to it. And I like to think of listening to music as a mild form of meditation. When I'm listening to a song that I know, I'm going in about the song. I want to make sure that I know my bars. I want to embody the song. And if I'm embodying the song, do you know what I'm not thinking about? My life, what I have to do after this class, anything else that's going on in my world. So creating those things together, it ended up making so much sense when my mission, I realized, becoming the person who bridges the gap and makes yoga more culturally relevant and beginner friendly. When I started teaching trap yoga, there were two worlds of things that were happening. Within the first few weeks, I got a call from 2 Chainz management and they said, hey, 2 Chainz is doing Pretty Girls Like Trap music. We want you to come and be a part of the marketing plan. I had Erykah Badu's team call, say, hey, we want you to open for her at the Toronto Arts and Culture Festival. And that was like, wow, amazing, amazing. And the Black girl in me, the Oakland girl in me was like, the hood love me. Life is good. But I also was deep in the yoga community and I have so much respect for the practice, which is why I traveled to India to learn it in the first place. And so I had a lot of people saying things like, you denigrate the message, or what you're doing is disrespectful, and you're not going to make it far. And if you've ever met yogis before, they're like, tell me about your lineage and who's your guru. So there was a lot of that questioning. And that's where my own self-knowledge, my own self-respect, my own self-acceptance became really important. And for me to remember that, I plan on from that moment forward, living a very radical existence where I'm going to change the world for millions of people. I keep track of how many people I teach. I've taught yoga to 2.7 million people over the last 7 years. You think I give a about the 10 people who don't like me? Now, when the brands didn't like me, that hurt my heart. I ain't gonna hold you. I was told that I was a loose cannon, that like as a brand, I wasn't trustworthy because brands wanna know, is she contained? And the truth of the matter is I'm not contained. But that authenticity has also gotten me some of the biggest and best deals of my life. I was a Lulu Lemon ambassador for 3 years. But when I first met them and they said, hey, we're gonna be sponsoring this event, I was like, the f you are? Historically, like, I'm queer, I'm full figured, I'm a Black woman, I'm from the ghetto. Now I'm doing fine, but I come from a low socioeconomic status. You don't speak for me. But what's beautiful is they were receptive to that message and they had a whole team dedicated to finding people like me so that they can help push our careers. And me standing my ground with that, I think is the thing that actually landed me. That partnership that honestly changed my life and put me in a lot of places. They play a part in why I live in LA now. So for all of the things that you lose, I feel like you gain so much more if you stay to the path. So for the first 3 years of trap yoga, I toured all over the world. I've taught in over 17 countries. In some of the cities I loved so much that I just constantly kept coming back to it. It became really heartbreaking that I would put in all of this energy to transform women's lives, to make them feel confident and excited. And then I would come back to their city 3 months later, and them bitches was exactly where I left them. Broke my heart. And so I realized that people were getting high off of the class, but we needed something more in depth and more sustainable. Before that happened, I actually had already went back and got a master's level education in positive psychology and social behavioral studies. So I thought, now is a great time that the brand is there to take a step back and deal with another limb of yoga. One of the things that we learn about yoga is there are 8 different limbs, and before you even get to the physical practice, there's getting your mind right and getting your breath right. And so me becoming an unforgettable confidence coach was me saying, I love teaching yoga, but to be honest, y'all not ready for the physical practice of moving that energy through your body because your mind is So I started coaching one-on-one, and once I hit 2,000 clients, then I was like, I can't do this no more. And so now I coach in small group cohorts of 20 to 30 women, each starting once a month. And the way that I've been able to transform those lives, they understand that like yoga is physical and you profit in every way and everything. But if your mind isn't right, you're just gonna constantly keep going back to the same that breaks you. One of the things that was really interesting when trap yoga first took off is I didn't expect it. Remember, it was something that I was doing on a fluke, and to go from, a divorcee with 2 children, homeless, I just dropped out of med school to teach yoga full time. In the first year, we made more money than I had ever seen in my life, but I still didn't have the level of boundaries that I needed, and I spent every penny. And not on like the stupid rapper it was on like, oh my God, my cousin needs a job? Cousin, come. And they, they didn't have that download. They didn't have the love of the practice and all of those sort of things. And so that was one of the things. And I think that turning point was about 2 years in, when I was just exhausted. I was teaching 16 classes in 3 days, you know, every 3 days, traveling around and just doing all of this stuff to try to help heal other people. And I realized that I was martyrizing myself. And the little bit of me that still had some like people-pleasing tendencies was about to give up on my company. I was like, I don't have the heart to fire my mom and my cousin and all of these other people who need to be fired, because you can't pay people to be your family or your friends. That's business advice. And when you love people, sometimes you would rather give up on your dreams than hurt their feelings. And so what I ended up doing was running off to Barcelona, spending 3 weeks there, and really contemplating, like, is this what I want to do? And when I came back, I fired everybody. And that is the biggest difference, is I had to get to my breaking point where I had to run away to get clarity. And now I fire fast and hire slow. One, false move. And that's hard, because as a woman, you want to be seen as somebody who is compassionate and understanding. But what I've learned now is the harder my boundaries and the more clear I am, the more compassionate and understanding I can be with limitations. And so I'm grateful for that part of the journey. You just got the scoop on Between Us Curls. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Curly Culture. Reggaeton, like what's up, Bujubata? You gotta walk like a champion.
Hey you guys, what's up? I'm Ava Pearl, founder of Curly Culture, a community for people with all types of curly hair, from a 2A to a 4C. Let us know what you guys want to see in the comments below, and we'll see you guys on our next episode. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.